The next thing I want to talk about is the various groups of dogs. And again, you'll have a lot of people, and you guys face this work in the shelter all the time. Oh, you know, you're breed specific. Yeah, because you want to specifically identify the characteristics and help that dog get rescued, adopted, and in a home. We did a play group here a few months ago. It was late last year before we decided to do the university. And we had just finished a play group, Lewis and I. And now Lewis and I, neither one of us ever, you've never owned a pit bull, have you?
No.
Okay, I've never owned a pit bull. We're Malinois Shepherd people. But you know what our number one concern is? Pit bulls. Because we know they need our help. So that's where we spend most of our focus. So when we did our presentation for the Bound Angels University, one guy stood up and says, you know, Robert's talking a lot about drives and breed-specific things, and I'm kind of concerned. And what he was saying is, I think Robert's against pit bulls, which has been quite the opposite for me because I've been criticized for being too pro-pit bull, because I think pit bulls get a bad rap. You know, I just don't think they're understood. Do I think everybody should have a pit bull? No. I think we could save a lot more pit bulls if we weren't adopting them into the wrong homes. You know, if we weren't breeding them the wrong way. It's a really nice breed. But what's happening is people aren't understanding it. So when I say words like breed specific, and I talk about the drives of a pit bull, a chow, an Entlebucher, a Malinois, a Yorkie, I have to be able to identify the drives of the group, at least the group, in order to make a determination of, is that dog categorically fitting into that group? Is that pit bull a pit bull, or did he not get the memo at birth and turned into a lab? Because that happens, right? I've seen plenty of labs that think they're pit bulls. I've seen plenty of shepherds that think they're chows, and they're just gnarly. So understand that. You'll have your favorites. Of course you're going to have your favorites. You know, I'm a vegetarian. I've got my favorite type of food. It's vegetarian food, you know. I don't really like soda, but I'll drink soda. But, you know, I have things I like. We're humans, right? I have certain friends. My friends are kind of all similar to me. Eric, Lewis, my friends. You form these cliches. So what we're going to do is break dogs down into some simple groups so we can kind of understand that better. And this is, you know, through the AKC's definition of groups, okay? Herding groups, herding dogs, hounds, sporting dogs, non-sporting dogs, terriers, working dogs, toy group. Can we lump every dog in the world into these groups? No. But we can kind of get a little snapshot of who they are and what they are. So if we look at herding dogs, what is it, and you can cheat if you want, but we're not, but what is it about herding dogs that makes them herding dogs? What is a herding dog? A herding dog, go ahead. A herding dog is a dog that brings animals together. So there'll always be heel nippers, right? They're always going to have a certain degree of prey drive, right? Because they're herding cattle, they're herding sheep, they're herding ducks, or, you know, and even if you see, like a lot of people get like an Australian cattle dog or a border collie or something, they'll take them out and take them herding because that's their natural drive. They want to herd. And if you don't let the animal have that natural drive, it's going to leak out somewhere else, right? Some dogs that are in there, shepherds, obviously cattle dogs, Briards, corgis. Who would have thought a corgi is a herding dog if you don't know? Collies and sheepdogs. Be aware that if you have a dog that exhibits herding dog drive, you might have a pit bull that's got herding dog drive. He didn't get the manual that he's supposed to be a pit bull, and he might think he's a herder. That's where you want to kind of go with this, okay? He's got herding characteristics. So if he's running around nipping at heels and he's got crazy prey drive, something you want to think about. Would I want to take a pit bull or a chow or something like that and let him herd sheep? Probably not. But I'd want to be aware that those drives exist. Okay, hounds. Hounds fit into what? Hunting dogs. Great scent, a lot of drive. A lot of drive. So that's why you see hounds are always barking. They're neurotic. They have to go doing something. They're Basenjis, beagles, dachshunds, ridgebacks were obviously much bigger hunting dogs. But they're dogs that need a lot of energy. They need a lot of outlet for their energy. They can't just be bottled up. Again, unless they didn't get the manual. So you can't go in and go, that's a beagle, it's high drive, it's a hunting dog, it's only going to... No, it might just be a really easy dog. But that is in their genetic makeup. And that is, remember, to breed a dog for a specific characteristic doesn't take 100 years. It can be done over 5 to 10 generations. You can start to change the genetic makeup of a dog. If you haven't seen the movie, there's a movie called, I'm going to think of it in a minute. Everybody got their pen out. When you get your pens out, it made me nervous. It's one of my favorite movies. It's called Dogs Decoded.
Oh, I think I've seen it.
It's probably one of the best movies you'll ever see. Yeah. Okay, so non-sporting dogs. What are non-sporting dogs? They're not sporting dogs, right? They're dogs that really don't fit into a one category of sporting dog because they don't have any one appearance. Like if you look at the difference between like an Eskimo, a Terrier, a Bulldog, a Shar-Pei Chow, those kind of tend to be the non-sporting type dogs. And they don't really have a one characteristic. They're kind of just easier dogs. They're a good choice for most people who are going to get a dog. And a lot of the mixes you get in, we can kind of categorize them as non-sporting dogs. Sporting dogs are obviously very alert. And a lot of dogs from sporting dogs will kind of work like with herding dogs. Herding dogs used to be in the sporting dog category because they work. They do a lot of gathering and stuff like that. They're great companions, but they're sporting dogs, so they like activity. They like to be going. They like to be chasing stuff. They like to be... Most dogs are going to be very bored in the average household because dogs want to do something. Humans are genetically very lazy. They're entitled. They want stuff. Hey, Lou, get me a cigarette. Hey, go get me a beer. Get me the... Dogs don't want that. Dogs are like, hey, let me do something. Okay, sit. I'm sitting. Okay, great, you can have a treat. That makes them happy. Right? So good dog owners are people who understand that, and they don't anthropomorphize the dog. I studied hard to get that. For years, we used to always go,
They act like people.
Yeah, act like people. And we're going to go into that anthropomorphism a lot because I think it's very, very important. I had a client once in my private practice, and I went to her house. She said, my dog bites. And I said, okay. And I went up, and it was a little dog. And I said, you don't bite that hard. And I went to her house and I said, where's your dog? He was in a bassinet, like a real bassinet. And I said, why is he in a bassinet? She goes, because I don't have a child. I said, obviously. So I started talking to her, and she actually said these words to me. She said, I got my dog because I don't have a boyfriend and I want somebody to sleep with. And I thought it was one of the most repulsive, sick things I've ever heard in it creeped me out. I mean, I really had to keep the door open on the apartment at that moment because it was just so dysfunctional. But there are people like that. Don't think what I'm telling you is an anomaly. This is the norm. So, sporting dog. Now, terriers is one you're going to deal with a lot. Now, if you look at a Jack Russell Terrier and a Pit Bull Terrier, where is the similarity, right? Certainly not in looks, right? But we have to understand that it's that underlying terrier that makes them terriers, which was what were terriers bred for? To hunt vermin, right? So to hunt vermin, you have to be tenacious. And I always use that word. I always say, if somebody says, I've got a Jack Russell Terrier, I've got a client who's got a Fox Terrier in Bel Air, I've got another couple people who've got Pit Bull Terriers, I say the common denominator is that terriers are tenacious. They're just a tenacious breed. So in other words, if there's a squirrel running around, a lot of dogs will go, I ain't never going to catch him. And they leave it at that, right? Oh, not a terrier. They'll climb over the fence, through the thing. They'll get their head stuck in a tiny hole. They will die to get that squirrel, rat, or whatever. Look at rat terriers. They have all these games now. The AKC has all these games where they're burrowing dogs and all that stuff. So there's an intense drive. That is sometimes the enemy of the dog for training, because terriers are a pain in the ass to train. They're just tenacious, and they're just impervious to common sense oftentimes because they just have that drive. And it's that drive that makes them terriers, and which is what they were bred for, to hunt vermin. There's no structure to hunting vermin. It's not like a bird dog where we teach them to flush left, flush right, use a soft mouth when you get the duck. There's none of that common sense. It's just go get it and kill it. And that's the job. So in their genetic DNA, that's all they know. They go, they bite. So that's what you're dealing with there. One of the last groups is the toy group. And the toy group is exactly that. You know, it's kind of like a lap dog, a butt warmer, you know, lap warmer. It's just a dog that's going to keep you company. Working dogs, again, working dogs goes into different categories. So sled dogs, guarding dogs, retrievers. So like a Portuguese water dog is a working dog. A Malinois is a working dog, but it's also a herding dog, right? So you have these cross categories where they can fit into different things. And they include Lewis's favorite breed, the Akita. The Anatolian Shepherds, the Bernese Mountain Dogs, these are all mountain rescue dogs. These dogs, really, a working dog should not go to a home unless it's a skilled handler, because it's just going to be trouble. You know, people say, oh, pit bulls go in the wrong homes. Working dogs go in the wrong homes a lot. You know, like a working line, and there's two different things. You've got working line German Shepherds, and you've got pet and show line German Shepherds. And it's a very, very big difference. I'll tell you, I'd rather see a pit bull in the wrong home than a working line German Shepherd in the wrong home, because it'll eat your entire house. Maya, will eat my house. She cost me $2,000. She got into a can of protein powder while I was out. And I've got cameras all over my house because of her, right? I adopted her from somebody who couldn't keep her because of that reason, and I can see why. She's in a crate, but she's out. She's working with me. She's on a treadmill 2 miles a day. She's running. She's doing schutzen. She's doing obedience. She's doing everything. That dog in a normal home would sit in a crate and would deteriorate.